Kimberly. I'm just kind of grooving here because that song, if you can't dance to that song, you can't dance. That's just it. But hi, it is Friday, November 16th. I can't believe I'm saying this, Kimberly, but a week before Thanksgiving. But it's a wonderful day. The sun is out. I am just thrilled to be your host for Village in Motion, Diane Gatsis Havinga, and I'm even more thrilled to have one of my long-term buddies here during spring, Kimberly Nelson.
We're showing our age.
I know. Well, that's what the 20th anniversary is all about, right?
It is indeed.
And I have to tell you, this lady here was the one who really pulled this whole 20th anniversary celebration off. She did have a committee, but it was her mastermind and all this. Let's do this, let's do that. So let's go back into time. How long ago did you really start planning for all the events that we have had this week?
So we do have a committee of residents and staff, and I would say that the staff committee, we probably started, let me think, early summer. And I think maybe it was right after the scholars stuff.
So about April.
Yeah, April, May.
Okay.
And we started with a survey. I met with Peggy Kellers with the council, and we decided to do sort of a survey out to all the residents to get some feedback on what were the residents looking for 20th anniversary. And it was, lots of suggestions for them to choose from related to politicians and no politicians, to something that has a cost and no cost, and just different, just a huge wide variety. And then the committee took that information and we sort of narrowed it down, and then sort of kept narrowing it down from there. And so, we probably did some little planning initially, maybe in January, February, because we did start with this 20 weeks leading up to the 20th anniversary. And you and some folks on your team and resident volunteers started with the trivia and the photo of the day starting in July. So we did start with some of that early stuff early in the year, getting it prepared, and then some of the bigger events that we've had this week, those sort of came along as we went. But it really was a great collaboration of different events, different types of events, so that it could appeal to a wide audience, getting resident clubs and groups involved. Just getting on the Showgirls calendar to make sure, we had to do that very early on. Actually, I might even have mentioned it to them last year to say, hey, we need to keep this in mind. And then we were able to sort of negotiate and flip around some other schedules that they had to do that. And then, of course, the art wall with Ann Sampson and Virginia Fernbach.
And I have to tell you, that art wall really caught my eye when the first time that I passed it in Hunter's Crossing. So if you haven't gone, it's still up. It's in Hunter's Crossing. And it took me back to various things like, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh, yeah, I remember that. And just the wide variety. Hitting kind of everything. A shout out to Dwayne Ward, because I know he helped.
He worked a lot with the residents to put that together. And the thing with that particular wall is that a lot of those artifacts were scattered in many different offices. And so it took Dwayne and I a little bit of coordinating and helping say, okay, I think this is here and this is here, and trying to just track down some things, and emails getting out to directors for them to check their spaces of what sort of memorabilia do they have and what needs to get framed and what is already framed, and the Villager with their Apex Awards. Kay McCurdy did a great job getting that together for us. So it was just lots of little things. And it was a nice blend of residents and staff collaboration.
And you had some pretty special concerts, I think, this week. I was able to go to the one on Wednesday when you had the maestro come
Yes.
on, and he did a kind of mini class, if you want to call it that, where he talked about conducting and being a pianist. And of course, he played some, even though he said, well, I haven't really practiced. He played some wonderful pieces, and we will be broadcasting the entire event. Hopefully, I think what I'm thinking of doing, I haven't mentioned this to Avon, who produces our monthly specials, but I'm thinking we'll do a whole week in December because we have just so much
That's a great idea.
we can show. But anyway, we'll show that. And then you had a harpist.
And then we had the glass harpers. So going back to Dingwall, so Maestro Fleary goes way back with my family. He has been conductor of the McLean Symphony since the 70s. And my dad and my sister both play the violin, and they both played the violin in the 70s with Maestro Fleary at the McLean Symphony. And so it was really quite fun because I brought a photo of my dad to sort of refresh his memory, and he instantly recognized him and said he hadn't, aged a bit. And I said, neither have you.
Right. Well, and the other thing was just in the event there, he kept looking out in the audience saying, oh, yeah.
Yes.
And so he was reconnecting with a lot of the
musicians,
residents who had worked with him over the years.
Yeah, so some of those photos that we just saw were, of course, residents, and many of them had either played an instrument in the symphony under his tutelage, or they had themselves, he was a teacher or family, have taught an instrument with him. And so he is really such just a depth of knowledge and information, and just a great advocate for the arts. And it was just so nice for him to just share a point of view of the symphony that you may not have really thought about. And I'm not going to spoil everything because I know you're going to re-air it, but I will just say, please make sure when you watch the re-airing that you watch it exactly from the beginning, because his intro is really quite fun.
Yeah, and everything you've heard about that clothing incident is true. We'll just leave
Yes.
it. We'll just leave it at that.
And then what was really nice is he stuck around not just for pictures, but then we had a small group where he did an impromptu conducting class, and he had all these different variety of batons, and it was really quite interesting as he talked about the length of the baton and the weight and the handle, and some were smooth and some had rounded, and pros and cons of what people like to use and what they're made out of. He probably could have done a whole session just on the baton. It was really quite interesting.
So you'll have to have him come back and do that then.
I'm sure we will.
The other thing, and then we should move on to some of the other events that I found interesting, was when someone asked him, well, really, is the conductor really, quote, conducting, or what happens when you have one of those renegade musicians? And he talked about the fact that, oh yes, I had one, but you put them in their place, and they don't do that anymore.
But he just has such a lovely way in the stories. It was great fun. I so appreciate all the residents who came and enjoyed the afternoon with us for Maestro Fleary, but also for our glass harpist. And then, of course, yesterday we had an awesome cake cutting and champagne event, and we had a lot of outside guest speakers, and more importantly, we were able to recognize our pioneer residents and our staff. And you see the aerial view of the cake. Diane did a great job with these cakes. You can see from the presentation, it was just lovely. And we had photos out everywhere for folks to see and pick up, and lots of memories. And it was really great fun, as you can see from the photos. We had a full house. I think anytime you say there's cake and champagne, you'll get a full house. But Jeff Watson was there, so he was our first resident life director. Will Nance was there, our first sales director, then executive director, and of course the executive team and many other staff. And then our board with Roy O'Connor and Jackson Bain. And then our retired board member, Joanne Rorapa, was also there. And it was just such a great spirit of fun and celebration of sort of where we have grown and come from. And it was just nice to hear the stories from the beginning of how, residents believe so much in the vision of what Erickson was going to build. It wasn't even built. The pioneers really moved in on a picture and a site plan and just the belief that it was all going to happen. And then how we see Green Spring today and how we continue to innovate and just try to keep up with things and then stay ahead of the curve. It's just been great.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out, and you also had pictures on the
Oh,
tables,
my.
and so at the end
Oh,
of the
my.
event, I went, yes, really, this one you should zoom in. I had residents come up to me and give me these photos, and I'm like, yeah, I know who I am.
Yeah, we both changed our hair color since those photos.
We have, so
Yes.
very, very cool. And they said, oh,
Yes.
you should take these, Diane. So
Yeah.
I did. So before I let you go, there's two things I want to ask you about. One is there's some calendars that are going around.
Yeah, so I just want to give a quick plug for it's the 2019 anniversary edition of the Ladies of Green Spring calendar and the Hunks calendar. Please get your orders in today or over the weekend and put them in the Benevolent Care Fund slot, because we're going to be ordering calendars, and we want you to get the $10 price so that we can order hopefully a close number, because once they come out then people go, oh, I should have ordered one, and then it's $15. So please make sure, because if we have to do a reprint, it's more expensive the second time.
So this may be a silly question, but so it's not the original calendar, it's 2019 dates with.
So it's a 2019 dates.
Okay.
It is all the same models. Some of the pictures may look very familiar. Some may be variations of what you've seen. So, but it is all the same models.
So an updated version.
A modified version is what I would say, because when we did the initial photo shoot, we did not use all the photos. We picked and choose, and so there'll be some differences and some similarities. But the most important thing is it's a lot of fun, the spirit of the community and celebrating life, and that any proceeds from the calendar will go to the Benevolent Care Fund. And so we just would encourage residents to buy one for stocking stuffers or send to friends and that kind of thing. The other thing is this afternoon, we've got the turkey trot.
Yes,
so
I have my
want to
shoes
make
ready.
sure folks know 1:30 Town Center lobby. They'll walk at 2, but the food and fun is always from 1:30 to 2. So please pop over. And then tomorrow, I don't know if I say tomorrow's the grand finale or it's really the true kickoff, because your anniversary really is the whole year. So I'm not sure how we want to phrase it, but it's going to be another good celebration. And if you have specific questions on the food or dining, please reach out to G or Ty in dining directly to get all those questions answered. Brush off your suit and tie, and ladies, dress up. We want everyone to have a great time and come as dressy or as casual as you would like. But if you want to wear a tuxedo, great. If you don't, great. The most important thing is that we're all together celebrating 20 years and looking forward to the next 20.
And you can hop from venue to venue.
Yes.
So you don't have to stay at Village Square or
Yes.
Hunter's Crossing or Town Center. The idea is that you would start at one and do a kind of whole circuit.
Yes. My understanding is they're going to have 3 buses that will just go between Town Center, Village, and Hunter's Crossing. 2 or 3. And that so that you would really just go to the lobby at Village, and within 5 minutes there'll be a bus and it'll take you up to Hunter's. Go in and visit, hop back on the bus, go over to Town Center. You do not have to do that. You can stay in the same venue. If you like the food and the music and the entertainment, that's perfectly fine. But if you'd like to experience all of it, you can. And they'll give you a wristband so that they know you've checked in and sort of checked off that you've paid your ticket, and off you go for your meal of the day. And it should be great, great fun.
And I'm going to be there. I'm going to be shooting behind the scenes. So again, as part of our month celebration of all the events, you're going to be able to see the 3 chefs, or I would say just 3, but each kitchen. I'll be going into each kitchen beforehand to see the prep work, and then of course to the 3 venues to share that later. So
I think that's a great idea, Diane, because a lot of times we don't see what happens behind the scenes. We see what comes out on the plate, but you don't really realize how many hands are back there pulling it all together. And just like with all of our anniversary events, you know, there were many, I might have been the face of the committee, but there were many hands even beyond the committee that were involved in all of these projects. And I just really want to thank all the residents and the clubs and groups and the staff and your team, of course, of residents and volunteers who've been really instrumental in coming together for the celebration. The other thing is when you're outside walking around, take a peek up at all the street poles, and you'll see some celebration flags that mirror our logo with some little confetti, and those will be up, you know, through the end of the year and into the spring. We're hoping it all lasts well as we celebrate our 20th anniversary going into 2019.
that's it for us.